Lisa, and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I'd like to talk to you about layering. Layering, I feel like people used to just call it matting a picture, but now I see a lot of artists and scrapbookers and art journalers using different layers and different layering techniques. So I wanted to share with you a few of the layering techniques and the products that I use to add layering, which tends to add texture and interest to a picture. So I'm going to play. I have a few pictures here, some recent pictures of my family, and I'm going to play with some different techniques. And the first technique for layering that I would like to go over is using your scrap paper. So this is my bin of scrap paper, which I know it's unorganized. It needs to be, that's another video for another day, but I always keep all of my scraps, and sometimes they're better organized than this, but this is a great way to go through your scraps, to use them for different purposes and to get them used up in your crafting. So I'm going to take this photo right here of my daughter playing soccer and kind of just go through and see what I can find that might go nicely with it. I like this yellow, but I think it needs to pop off. When I am adding layers, I try to not worry too much about what the measuring is. I think layers that are just kind of placed and not necessarily manipulated too much end up looking a bit more organic, which I tend to like. That's the look I tend to go for. So I just kind of place them and start messing around. Let me play around here and we'll see what we come up with. When you are working with paper layers, the good thing is there are no rules. It's fun to just play around, dig through your layers, and see what you have. I always try to find a balance between solids and patterns, highlighting my photo with a certain color scheme or just pops of color, and just to kind of add some fun elements and some little surprises. When just a little bit of the paper is peeking out, it's nice to add that interest of some different patterns and shapes that are a bit unexpected. Other tip is, when you start to find things you like, don't second guess yourself. Start adhering things down with a tape runner or glue and go from there. If you spend the whole time fussing and second guessing, then it kind of takes the fun out of playing with paper. Some Tim Holtz stickers that say "Beautiful Girl," and this piece is ready to take its place on a layout. Another fun technique in layering is using vellum pieces. Vellum is cool because it is see-through. It's a different texture than normal scrapbook paper, and it can add kind of a cool feel to your layered pieces. So this is a picture of my daughter from her last day of second grade. So I have this numbered vellum from Felicity Jane that I'm going to use on this picture and add a few more layering elements, and we'll see what comes out of it. My tip for using vellum in your layering is to have it be a middle layer. Don't have it be the very bottom layer, and don't necessarily have it be the very top layer. The cool fog, the kind of frosted look of Most vellum pieces adds a neat effect, and when you have it sandwiched in the middle and pieces of it kind of hanging off, you get to see all of the array of effects that you can get from one vellum piece. So here you see me sandwiching it between this gray floral piece and the picture itself with pieces of it hanging off. And that way it really stands out, it pops, but I still get to see that floral gray piece, and I'm able to really highlight all the elements in the picture I want. One last little pop of blue to bring out my daughter's shirt, and this one will be almost done. Labels and tags are another great element to use when you're layering. They're wonderful for highlighting the subject of a photo, or perhaps maybe the date, anything like that. And they're fun. They come in all kinds of varieties to add color and texture as well. Here I'm using some small alpha stamps that I picked up at Michael's from their kind of dollar section. I believe it was $2 to stamp out second grade, and I will add this label to my picture. When I do my pictures ahead of time like this, it really makes scrapping easier, because when I turn to my traveler's notebook, I already have the majority of a page done. This element is all put together. It's ready to put on a page and probably add a title and go from there. So another fun way that I like to add layers is using things like paper doilies or brown craft bags. And these are cool because they are a different material. They're a different texture. With the craft bags, I generally tear it. I like to wrinkle it up so I can see it being used. This is one that was actually just a bag that I purchased something in. I bought these at Hobby Lobby. I kind of wish, I have 3 different sizes here. Small, medium, and these are large ones. I'll be honest, the large ones are really hard for me to find a way to use. I wish I had more of these small ones because I generally work with smaller pictures in my traveler's notebook. But let me show you how I would use these doilies and possibly a little bit of this craft bag to add some fun texture to this picture of my brownie tree. I will be honest, the layering situation on this photo got a little bit out of control. I was using all of the things. I tried to use that craft bag, but the brown just wasn't doing it for me. So I layered up these doilies, the white on top of the pink. There was some pink in the paintings that the girls had been doing, so I was working with that. I really wanted to use this floral, but I just couldn't make it work. It was too much color. And truthfully, I think that pink doily ended up just being a lot. So I decided to mount the girl's picture on to some white cardstock to kind of set it off, and then use a couple of different pattern papers that are in my scrap bin there to add more elements. Changing it out to black right there. Forgot I did that. So now I'm outlining it. I matted it in black, and then I'm going to use that to make it pop off of the different scraps that I'm working with over here. Here's where I change out that floral piece in just a second for this map from Illustrated Faith. I just like the teal color a little bit better, picking it up in the arrows. So I'm going to mount it on that piece, and then I use that arrow piece of paper to break up the pink. Like I said, I think the pink ended up being a little much for me, and so the arrows break it up and they give me a place to put my title. In the end, this one does get a little bit busy, but I don't mind, because when I put it in my book, that will be almost completely what's on the page. Probably just one spot for journaling, and that will be the main focus of the page. Most likely it'll be divided between 2 pages on a traveler's notebook, so I would make a cut probably to the left of the picture and have the doily hanging over on both sides of the page. Another element I like to use to add layers is tissue paper. And I buy tissue paper at the dollar store, or if I see cool tissue paper out and about, I generally pick it up. You can use just plain white. This happens to have cool confetti on it, and it'll be perfect for adding to these ice cream pictures of my kiddos and adding a little bit more interest to this page. This has to be one of my favorite ways to add layers to a project. It softens papers, it softens the whole look of a spread when you have some tissue paper, especially white tissue paper or a light color. I just love the look of it. It's very simple, very fast, just matting the picture on the tissue paper and cutting those out and putting them on top of the other scraps that I'm using. Now the next scrap that I'm using, I love that the tissue paper kind of hides that this one really doesn't make sense. This is a Kelly Perky paper that I cut pieces out of. What was left, it doesn't make sense really to use it on its own, but since part of it is covered up by that tissue paper and I can trim it out, I still get that beautiful purple pink color that I wanted, but it doesn't really matter that what is in the background is kind of nonsensical. Okay, another fun way to layer a photo is with washi tape. I know so many crafters have bins and bins of washi just like me, and rarely do we use it all or use it enough to justify the quantity of washi that we have. So using it on your projects to add layering is a great technique, and I'm going to use some blue washi and add some layering to this adorable picture of my son at the pool. Now, do I normally use this much washi to add layers to my photos? No, but this was a bit of a challenge trying to limit myself to only washi for the layer, and I liked it in the end. It was a little bit busy, a little bit colorful. I kind of wish the photo had been in black and white, but I liked the bright blue of my son's water gun, and so that's what I was trying to bring out with these blue washis. It was fun. It was a challenge, and I think sometimes it's fun to push yourself out of your comfort zone and try new things. I found it a little bit hard to balance the washi with that bright floral that I started with, And perhaps I should have that one was a rough one to start with, that bright floral with the bright pink, because it limited my other options. I kind of wish I had started with a more neutral washi, but that's okay. In the end, I like it. I put some washi in the back and some washi on top to add some depth and dimension. And don't forget that you can always tear washi down the middle to add kind of an organic torn look to it. Is a nice way to go. If I were doing this in my actual traveler's notebook, I wouldn't have a need for the next step. But what I'm going to do is cut it out here with some scissors just so I have it separated to show to you all. And I might fussy cut around it a little bit closer, mount it on another piece, or just adhere it into my traveler's notebook as is. We will see. It might make a very cool pocket in a traveler's notebook. That might be something else I could do. Last but not least, one of my favorite ways to layer a picture is using black and white florals. And I cut these florals out of scrap paper in my free time when I'm just watching TV in the evenings with my husband. I pick up black and white floral scrap paper whenever I see it, and sometimes I use stamps to create these impressions, but I keep this box near me when I'm scrapping, and these work great because they layer with any photo, any color. And I'll show you how I'm going to use it for this very colorful photo of my family at the United States Capitol, and I'll add a few layers. I scrap lifted this idea from Heba over at My Little Journal. I just love her traveler's notebook process videos. She has a much cleaner, simpler approach than I do most of the time, but her layouts are so inspiring, and she was the one where I learned this floral technique from. She has a whole box of them that sit on her desk. She uses various stamps and scrap paper like I do, and it's great for softening a photo for when you need a layer and you just don't know what to add. There are so few times when these black and white florals just don't come in handy. They're just the perfect little touch. So I like to add some in the back of the photo, and then you'll see me here in a second try to bring some to the front. That way it's not all behind. I like the idea of the layers behind the photo and in front to add some depth and interest to what's going on. Enjoyed these ideas on adding some layers to your photos today. Let me know below what your favorite elements are to use when you are adding some layering. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, keep it creative.